Buenos Aires, December 2001. The city hums with life. CFE. Acute. Crowded. Buses packed. The air thick with the scent of roasted coffee and exhaust. But beneath the surface, a silent panic is spreading. Overnight, the peso, once a symbol of stability, has become little more than paper. People line up outside shuttered banks, clutching savings that now buy less with every passing hour. Shopkeepers refuse cash, demanding dollars or goods in trade. The rules of daily life. What you can buy, what you can trust, have changed in a heartbeat. It's a scene that feels impossible, almost apocalyptic, yet it's not unique. In 1923, Berliners pushed wheelbarrows of marks to buy a loaf of bread. In Zimbabwe, 2008, trillion-dollar notes littered the streets, worth less than the paper they were printed on. In each case, money, the very thing that knits society together, suddenly became a lie. Here's the paradox. Money is nothing but a promise, a shared belief. We trust it because everyone else does. We build our lives, our futures, our sense of security on this invisible foundation. But what happens when that trust is shattered, when the numbers in your bank account, the bills in your wallet, the digital balances on your phone, all become meaningless? Overnight, this isn't just a story about faraway places or distant times. It's a warning, a glimpse into what most of us never imagined could happen to us. The truth is, the value of money is far more fragile than we're told. The systems we rely on are built on confidence, not certainty. And history shows that confidence can evaporate in an instant, leaving ordinary people scrambling to survive in a world where the rules have changed. So, what are we not being told about the real nature of money? How safe are your savings, really? And could the day money becomes a lie happen again? Maybe even where you live. The answers are hidden in the stories of those who have already lived through the unthinkable. Their lessons are urgent, their warnings clear. The question is, will we listen before it's too late? Why do we trust money? Strip away the official seals, the portraits of presidents and queens, and what remains is little more than colored paper or flickering digits on a screen. Yet, every day, billions of people exchange these symbols for food, shelter, and the promise of a future. The secret isn't in the ink or the code. It's in our collective imagination. Money works because we all agree, consciously or not, to believe in its value. This belief is comforting, almost sacred. We're taught from childhood that money is solid, dependable, the bedrock of modern life. We measure our success, our security, even our self-worth in its terms. The idea that it could simply stop working feels absurd, like gravity reversing or the sun failing to rise. But history tells a different story. Time and again, societies have watched their currencies unravel. The Roman denarius, once trusted across an empire, was debased until it became worthless. The French assignat, born in revolution, died in hyperinflation. Each time, people clung to the illusion of permanence, until reality forced them to see the truth. Money's value is not guaranteed by law or tradition, but by trust. And trust is as fragile as the stories we tell. This is the uncomfortable reality. Money is a shared myth, a social contract that can be rewritten or broken. When enough people stop believing, the illusion shatters. The comforting belief in money's permanence is just that. A belief, not a law of nature. And as we'll see, the consequences of that illusion unraveling are as dramatic as any revolution. Financial collapse rarely arrives as a thunderclap. More often, it creeps in, disguised as normalcy, camouflaged by official reassurances and the inertia of daily life. The anatomy of collapse follows a grimly familiar script: denial, panic, and aftermath. Each stage is marked by its own illusions, its own hidden truths, missed by most until the damage is done. It begins with denial. In ancient Rome, as the empire coffers emptied, empires quietly debased the denarius, mixing more based metal into each coin. The silver content dwindled, but the coins looked the same. Officials insisted all was well, that the currency was as strong as ever. Merchants grumbled, but life went on. In revolutionary France, the government printed zig, nats. Paper money, backed by seized church lands. At first, the new notes were celebrated as a symbol of progress. Inflation was dismissed as temporary, a small price for liberty. But cracks soon appeared. Prices rose slowly at first, then faster. In 1997, across Southeast Asia, currencies like the Thai baht and Indonesian rupiah began to wobble. Politicians and central bankers downplayed the risks, blaming speculators and promising stability. Ordinary people, reassured by authority, kept their savings in local banks, trusting that tomorrow would look like today. Then comes panic. In Rome, trust in the denarius collapsed. Merchants demanded payment in gold or foreign coins. In France, asignas lost value by the hour, and bread lines snaked through Paris. In Asia, as currencies crashed, banks failed, and millions lost jobs overnight. The public, sensing the lie, rushed to convert their money into anything tangible. Food, gold, foreign currency. The scramble exposed the truth. The value of money was never guaranteed, only assumed. The aftermath is brutal. In every case, the collapse leaves scars that last for generations. Rome's economy fractured, hastening the empire's fall. France's revolution descended into chaos, paving the way for Napoleon's rise. In Asia, the crisis triggered political upheaval and a lost decade of growth. The common thread is not just economic ruin, but a profound loss of trust between citizens and their leaders, between neighbors, even within families. What are the warning signs, the hidden truths that most people miss? They're subtle. Rising prices, dismissed as transitory. Government assurances that sound increasingly hollow. A slow erosion of purchasing power. The lie unfolds quietly, until suddenly, it's undeniable. By the time panic sets in, it's too late for most to escape unscathed. History's lesson is clear. Financial collapse is not a freak accident, but a recurring pattern. The warning signs are always there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for those willing to see beyond the comforting illusions. The question is, will we recognize them before the next collapse unfolds? In Venezuela, a mother stands in line for hours, clutching a handful of bolivars that shrink in value with every passing minute. By the time she reaches the front, the price of milk has doubled. She must choose, buy less or go without. Her children's hunger is not an abstract statistic. It's a daily, gnawing reality. The lie of money has turned her savings into dust, her plans into desperate improvisation. In Weimar Germany, a shopkeeper sweeps the floor of his bakery, watching customers rush in with wheelbarrows of marks. He raises prices by the hour, not out of greed, but necessity. His life's work, his shop, his reputation, hangs by a thread. He can no longer trust the currency he's built his business on, nor the government that prints it. Neighbors who once shared coffee now eye each other with suspicion, each wondering who will survive the next price surge. In Greece, a pensioner checks his bank balance, only to find his life savings frozen by capital controls. Years of careful planning evaporate in a single government decree. He faces impossible choices. Pay for medicine or food, help his grandchildren or keep the lights on. The social fabric phrased as trust in institutions collapses. Friends and families argue, blame, and withdraw, each person isolated by fear and uncertainty. These stories are not just about lost money. They're about lost dignity, lost trust, and lost hope. The collapse of currency is also a collapse of community. People who once relied on each other become competitors for scarce resources. The emotional toll that anxiety, shame, anger, lingers long after the numbers stabilize. The lie of money, once exposed, leaves wounds that no bailout or reform can easily heal. In the end, it is not just economies that break, but the bonds that hold society together. When money collapses, the search for someone to blame begins almost immediately. In Venezuela, politicians point fingers at foreign conspiracies and economic saboteurs, while ordinary people whisper about corruption and incompetence. In Weimar Germany, the government blamed the war, reparations, and speculators, while the public turned on bankers, minorities, and even neighbors. In Greece, leaders denounced international creditors, while citizens raged against both local elites and distant bureaucrats in Brussels. Amid the chaos, Self-proclaimed saviors emerge. Some promise quick fixes, price controls, new currencies, or sweeping reforms. Others offer scapegoats, channeling public anger toward convenient targets. The irony is that these solutions often make things worse. Price controls lead to empty shelves and black markets. Printing new money only accelerates inflation. Political purges and blame games fracture societies further, deepening mistrust and division. Official narratives rarely match the reality on the ground. Governments insist that recovery is just around the corner, that the pain is temporary, that sacrifice will be rewarded. But for those living through the crisis, each day brings new uncertainty. The rules change without warning, and yesterday's savior can become today's villain. Power shifts in unpredictable ways. Old elites fall, new ones rise, often exploiting the very chaos they claim to cure. The cycle repeats. Blame, promise, disappointment. The real tragedy is that while leaders argue and scapegoats are paraded, the root causes go unaddressed. The system remains fragile, the lessons unlearned, and the seeds of the next crisis quietly take root. Look around today and the warning signs are hard to ignore. Global debt has soared to record highs, with governments, corporations, and households all borrowing against the promise of tomorrow. Inflation, once dismissed as a relic of the past, is back in headlines from London to Lagos. Central banks print trillions with a keystroke, assuring us that everything is under control. But beneath the surface, trust is quietly eroding. Digital currencies and fintech promise a new era of convenience, but they also raise unsettling questions. What happens if the power goes out, or a government decides to freeze your account with a click? The very systems designed to make money safer and faster can also make it more fragile and less private. Meanwhile, faith in institutions, banks, governments, even the value of money itself, has been shaken by scandals, bailouts, and broken promises. Could your money be next? It's a question most people avoid, clinging to the belief that it can't happen here. But history's lesson is clear. No society is immune. The same patterns dot rising debt, political denial, and the slow erosion of trust have played out before every major collapse. The difference now is speed. In a digital world, panic can spread in seconds, and the rules can change overnight. We are living in an age of borrowed time, propped up by confidence that may be more fragile than we care to admit. The real risk isn't just economic, it's psychological. When trust breaks, it breaks fast. The question is not just whether our money is safe, but whether our faith in the system can survive the next shock. History's ruins are littered with the remnants of failed currencies and broken promises, but they also offer a map for those willing to look. The first lesson is that collapse is rarely sudden. It is a process marked by denial, slow erosion, and then a rush for the exits. The warning signs are always there: persistent inflation, rising debt, official reassurances that ring hollow, and a growing disconnect between what leaders say and what people feel in their daily lives. Those who survive and even thrive are often the ones who pay attention to these signals, refusing to be lulled by the comfort of consensus. Diversification is another hard-won lesson. Across centuries, those who placed all their trust and all their assets in a single currency or institution were the most vulnerable. Survivors spread their risks, holding a mix of assets, learning new skills, building networks of trust outside official channels. In Weimar Germany, families who bartered or held gold weathered the storm better than those who clung to paper marks. In modern crises, those with access to foreign currency, hard assets, or even strong community ties have found ways to adapt. Resilience is not just about money. It's about mindset. The people who cope best are those who accept uncertainty, adapt quickly, and refuse to let fear dictate their choices. They understand that value is not just a number on a screen, but a reflection of trust, relationships, and real-world usefulness. When the old systems fail, new forms of value emerge. Skills, reputation, and mutual aid become as important as cash. Ultimately, the true nature of money is revealed in crisis. It is a story we tell each other, a promise we choose to believe. When that story breaks, the world changes. But history also shows that trust can be rebuilt, and new systems can rise from the rubble. The challenge is to remember that value is never guaranteed. It must be earned, protected, and, above all, never taken for granted. Now, I want to hear from you. If money became a lie tomorrow, if the numbers in your bank account vanished, if cash lost its meaning overnight, what would you wish you'd done today? Would you have saved differently, learned new skills, built stronger relationships, or simply paid more attention to the warning signs? Share your thoughts, stories, and questions in the comments below. Have you or someone you know lived through a financial crisis? What lessons did you learn? And what advice would you give to others who might face the same uncertainty? Your experiences and insights are what make this community stronger and more resilient. This channel is dedicated to uncovering the hidden histories and hard truths that shape our world. If you found this story thought-provoking, subscribe and join us as we explore more untold stories of money, power, and survival. Remember, the value of money is never just about numbers. It's about trust, choices, and the stories we share. So, what would you do if the story changed tomorrow?